Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting details that we got for Monster Hunter Stories 2 during Capcom's special pre-launch program for the game when it's set to launch on July 9th. And as we had been talking about in the past few weeks, Capcom announced a special pre-launch program event specifically for Monster Hunter Stories 2, where they were going to go over just about a bunch of new details, showing off a brand new launch trailer, the co-op gameplay, developer interviews, and a couple of more updates, specifically the roadmap after the game launches on July 9th. And to be 100% honest, they completely delivered on everything that they said they were going to actually do and cover, which is pretty good for this game. Again, they've been promoting this game non-stop off of the back of Monster Hunter Rise. Whether that's good or bad, that's, a personal opinion. But ultimately, I think that they did a pretty good job in this event, probably more than any of the other ones, specifically during the E3 events, where they kept showing new trailer after new trailer and basically not providing any brand new details. It had to come to Nintendo during the Treehouse presentation, where we actually got to see some brand new gameplay. And today was actually a really good showcase for this game if you didn't necessarily know anything about it. So they opened up with a very basic recap of what we basically know already. It wasn't necessarily anything, surprising in there. A lot of details regarding how the story is going to develop, regarding what kind of things you will be able to do as you are playing the game. But again, let's keep in mind that there is a free trial available right now. Your save that it does carry over to the full game once it does launch. So essentially, you should be able to have a pretty good concept of what this game already is. But if you haven't necessarily tried it, you should be able to go check that out right now. And they showcase a lot of those things already. Fight monsters, turn-based combat, DNA abilities that you can transfer whenever you hatch an egg into another monster. Basically, you can craft your own armors, basic things that we've kind of already known, and they just went into full detail showcasing a little bit more of that. They also made it very clear that you will have access to Deviant Monsters in this game. This was something that they had not necessarily touched upon publicly before. We knew about it if you had been paying attention to the leaks, but they do mention very clearly that you will have access to Deviants and you will be able to ride them around as monsters or partners or whatever you want to call them. So you will have the option to do that as well. They also casually mentioned the Elder's Lair. This is post-game content where you'll essentially be able to have access to Elder Dragons and they become rideable as well as monsters. So while we knew that some Elder Dragons would become rideable and basically become partners for your game experience, they now made it very clear that this will be a specifically post-game content that you will have to access once you finish the full experience of the game. This is not something that is just going to be part of the story as you're playing it, but instead it will be reserved for basically as you finish the game. Then they showcased the roadmap for this game, and this is something that I'm just gonna make a separate video on because I have a lot of opinions. I know a lot of people on Twitter are definitely taking a big swing at this and they have a lot of hot takes, and I don't want to make a video full of hot takes. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit more cool-headed and I'll try to tackle this early next week, maybe during the weekend. But that roadmap for this game looks extremely interesting, and Monster Hunter Rise fans probably are not very happy. That's all I'm gonna say, but we're gonna move forward because I don't want to be too negative right now. Now, one of the things that I did talk about when they announced that they were gonna have this digital event was that I made mention that they needed to showcase the co-op gameplay. This was one of the very few mechanics that we've known about and they've made very public that they simply had not showcased very well at all, if at all. And during this specific showcase, they decided to actually go into full detail showcasing the co-op gameplay. And I'm gonna say it, I think they did a pretty bang up job convincing people that, hey, you do have the option to play with others. Chances are you have not been able to do that as you are playing the special version, the free version right now, because again, most people are having to rely on online internet access to be able to play with friends. You can't hang out with friends right now if there's still, lockdown situations based on your country. So, having access to this co-op thing is probably going to end up being relied upon if you are playing with other people online and not necessarily in a local co-op scenario, right next to each other. And I think they did a pretty good job explaining that, yes, you can play co-op locally if you are lucky enough to be able to play with someone, near you, but you also have the option to be able to play online. What I didn't necessarily know, and probably I should have put two and two together, was the fact that you will be able to play with an NPC essentially as your partner in these like online lobbies is what they're showcasing in this co-op scenario. So you will be able to go into this quest, specifically take down this one specific monster or whatever the case may be, and you will be able to just play with essentially an NPC pretending to be one other person, and you don't necessarily have to play by yourself. So that's a really good thing, especially when they made clear mention that when you are playing as a co-op, gameplay with other people, you have access to get more than one egg, which is like, I think, a big bonus. Usually you will be able to have access to just one egg in a specific lair, but now they're saying like if you play with other people, you can have multiple eggs as you collect and you finish the quest. So I think that's extremely beneficial and a great bonus to have. So probably playing with NPCs, even if they're not probably the smartest, it's probably going to be the best way to be able to handle this, even though the difficulty will be ratcheted up. So it's not going to be as easy as if you're playing by yourself in the single player story, but that's kind of like a given to begin with. One thing that I did not necessarily find too appealing, and I'm not necessarily too thrilled about, is the way that they handle combat. Essentially, you are going to engage into a fight with a random monster, or perhaps even the actual target monster that you're going to fight in one specific area, and then the other player actually has the choice to jump into that fight. They're not automatically jumped into the fight with you, even those turn-based battles and stuff like that, but instead they have the freedom to choose when to, if they want to actually engage. So I can definitely see this being a situation where, like, if you're playing online with just random strangers, you get into a fight, you expect this other person to help you, and they're just running off to go pick up eggs, and they're not interested in actually helping you at all. I can definitely see this becoming a problem, and specifically a nuisance when you're playing with randos online. So I'm not too necessarily thrilled to be able to see that, the way that they handled it. They did speak during the developer interview segment that they played around with different ideas and stuff like that, but I'm just not convinced this is actually a great system that they have. But to be fair, I haven't tried it, so I'm not necessarily going to just jump the gun just yet, but I can already see this becoming a real headache for a lot of people. But other than that, I think the co-op looks pretty good. This was the thing that they need to showcase, and I think they did a pretty good job showcasing that. The fact that you do get those multiple eggs as well when you're playing with other people, that's also a nice bonus. And again, you can't just do this with an NPC, so you are not necessarily tied to do this stuff with online randos or just another person that you have to play with locally. The developer interview thing was a nice touch. They basically went into details talking about like how the game was developed, what the ideas that they were going with, and essentially it just came out that they were just trying to make a game that was more appealing to everyone and not necessarily just that 3DS kiddie-ish audience that, based off of the visuals, which is a completely fair thing to say retroactively when you think about it. And this game is looking extremely good even on the Nintendo Switch, but I've already seen some PC gameplay and it looks extremely sharp, very beautiful to look at. So not necessarily much of a surprise that they definitely went with a really good art style, and they actually nailed it, and it's really appealing. What I really liked the most that they showcased out of everything that they showed, and it had nothing to do specifically with how you're going to be playing the game, was the concept art. Specifically when they showed off the characters and like different faces and different poses. That was really, really cool. Developers usually never do this. They end up selling you a book with illustrations and stuff like that, and I'm so glad that they showed off just the character arts and the way they envisioned these characters looking as they evolved into ultimately what we'll be playing as. So I think it was really cool to show off that art. Again, this is just such a rare insight into how developers actually think and show their work, so this was really cool to see. But other than that, I do think it was a great presentation overall. Again, this game is getting a lot of marketing. Capcom's biggest summer game for sure. They're going to try to make it as available, and they're going to talk about it as much as possible. The fact that that roadmap is going to be going into heavy September, maybe even further, signifies that they are definitely pushing this game more than you would have typically expected. And it is what it is. Capcom is gonna try to promote this game as much as they can. That is the situation. Monster Hunter Rise fans are just gonna have to keep dealing with it. And man, that roadmap, I have opinions, so I'll try to save it for whenever I make that video, hopefully in the next coming days, because I've already seen some hot takes on Twitter, and man, it's just, there's a lot of stuff out there to say for sure. But I would actually love to hear your guys' opinions on it. What do you guys think? If you actually have tried a demo, what do you think about it? What are your feelings on it heading into the release on July 9th? Because I'm not necessarily like over the top about it. I'm definitely just going to play it. But, you know, I think it's great. I think it's definitely an interesting monster taming type of experience. A lot of people have compared it to Pokemon. I don't see that. It's not even remotely close. I get what they're doing. I get what they're saying, but it's a different experience. It's not even close to that. So, you know, it is what it is with those comparisons. I think they're lazy to begin with, but, you know, a lot of people just want to bash Pokemon to begin with. So it is what it is. But if you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.